Welcome back to Freedom Brigade Nation. How is everybody? Andrea, what's going on in your world?
Hello, hello. Oh, living the dream. We are really busy right now, filing
Yeah,
lawsuits and doing big things. So,
yeah, that law fair is a lot of fun, isn't it?
yeah,
Uh,
we're just talking with Luke, and we'll bring him on a little bit. But I always tell people the corruption is abundant. If you're working in the world of trying to fight corruption, you'll have work the rest of your days.
the swamp is very sticky, very messy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a mutual friend running again. This time he is running for the first congressional district in Oklahoma, Jackson Lawmeyer. Very exciting.
I love
Uh,
Jackson.
I do too. And so, Andrea, you and I have both got to know him over the last 5 years, almost 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just as we've traveled the country with Clay and all of the Reawaken. But then in Oklahoma, he's been at all the GOP things, and I've gotten to know him on a personal level. He's an amazing person, and as I actually endorsed him, it came
Yay!
public. I know that's exciting.
Good for
There are a
you.
lot of yes. I think that you should be able to endorse people that you think are good.
Yes.
Um, I do want to clarify it is not a rule, at least in Oklahoma. The Republican Party chairman can endorse.
Yes.
The Republican Party did not endorse and will not endorse, which, by the way, if the Republican Party was to endorse, it would be because the state committee voted on a person, but they've never done that. And that the rules don't say they shouldn't or that they can't. They haven't ever done that, but to say that you can't have a voice because you took a position to bring some sanity back to the party is insane, and it is not
Mm-hmm.
against the rule. That is the big lie going around saying she broke the rule. There is no rule. If you can cite the rule, that'd be great, but there's not a rule there to cite because you are allowed to endorse. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not touching most of the races. There's a lot of good people in a lot of the races, but I know Jackson on a level, and I know that this one is worth it. And so endorsing Jackson Lawmeyer for the first congressional district in Oklahoma, very excited. He stood up against the corruption during 2020, if you remember. They said all the churches needed to close down. He had a lot of pressure, and so he kept having church. He just went to the roof and had it right, which I actually didn't think was necessary either. But he was trying to make people feel comfortable, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing was just so silly with COVID. And then he's founded Pastors for Trump. He's continued to stand strong. I have seen him throw common sense when they're, Russia Gate and all the hoaxes that they've done with Trump. And he just continues to back him and he continues to speak truth. And
Mm-hmm.
I will be a good fit for the congressional district one. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that's a great spot for him to be running into. That's fantastic.
yes, yes. Well, we also had this. It feels like it's been years and it's only been months since Charlie Kirk passed.
Oh gosh.
And I
Oof.
remember he died. I was so upset. And I went out the day that he died. Actually, you and I found out about it together. We found
Yeah.
out in the room. It happened while we were recording a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. And in the green room after, we had Sarah Burnett on with us, and
Mm-hmm.
she told us. And
Yep.
I'm watching it, and I'm telling everyone he's not dead yet. He's because they kept saying he had died. I'm like, that hasn't happened. Well, when it was confirmed that he died, I just had to go out and pray, right? I had to
Mm-hmm.
have a minute. And the Lord said to me that this really truly would be a turning point and we would see a million Charlie Kirks rise up. And I am seeing that. What I'm seeing
Amen.
in youth is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we have worked in the Oklahoma Republican Party, we've worked with the college Republicans since I took office. Their previous in Oklahoma, Connor Tranquil was their chairman, and he and I worked together well. But even when I'm in the Freedom Brigades, which we've been doing that for years, I'm not seeing as many young people get involved.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more of it, and that it's a beautiful thing, and it's what has to happen. It's I feel like I'm 22, right? And then you go and you hang out with 22-year-olds. I'm old. Actually, my youngest son, I had 3 boys, then 3 girls. My youngest son, today is his birthday. He is
Oh,
22,
happy
which
birthday.
Happy birthday, Isaiah. He doesn't usually watch my show, but every now and then he checks it out. He is, I can't believe my baby boy is 20. And I have three girls that are younger, but that it goes fast, you know.
Mhm.
Like you're pregnant for 100 years, right? That 10 months, they say it's 9, but 40 weeks is 10 months. And then that goes by, that takes years and years. That is like the longest 40 weeks of your life. And then the next 18 years go by in like 2 years. It's
Mhm.
like the most unreal thing ever. But he's 22 today, and it's just I don't know. I've got a lot of hope for what's coming in the future. We've got Luke Tate coming up with us today. He was just elected the chairman of the Oklahoma Federation of College Republicans. Let's welcome Luke.
Awesome. All right, let's bring Luke in. Oh, you're muted, Luke. I can unmute you. You can unmute yourself. He was being polite in the green room.
Am I there now?
Yes,
Hey,
we can
Luke,
hear you
how
now.
are you?
There we go. How are y'all doing?
Well, you're a student at OSU, right? Oklahoma State University, and you're studying agriculture business, right?
Yep.
Agriculture business. I wrote it down, and then I don't have my glasses in here
Yes, Ag Biz Pre-Law. Ag Biz
Pre-Law.
Pre-Law.
Yeah, so I do need glasses now because I am older than I should ever be. It's
Got mine right here.
unreal. It makes me feel better. Thank you. They used the word bifocals a couple years ago with me, and I'm like, not on talking. I know. I was like, I'm not old enough for words like bifocals. And she said, well, the next word. I'm like, we cannot be friends if these are the words we're going to continue to use.
You find another doctor at that point.
I think so. I think this is why I really like Luke. Well, Luke, how's it going? What are you seeing with the college Republicans? What are you seeing? Like, are you noticing more involvement? Are you seeing what we're seeing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially after Charlie Kirk's assassination, I saw a lot more students plugging in with political organizations. Here at OSU, I was chapter chairman here at OSU before I took this new position. And we partner with Turning Point, YAF, Students for Life, Students for Abolition, different conservative groups here on campus. And I mean, they've just seen a surge in numbers, or at least a surge in involvement. A lot of these organizations, they had a large membership, but they didn't have the involvement necessarily. So you had people on the roster, but you didn't have many people showing up to events and meetings. And we've just seen several events from these organizations every month.
That's awesome. You know, I've heard you speak twice now, and something that you have said, I have actually been quoting you, right? As soon as you spoke,
That's scary, Charity. That's really scary.
I know. Well, the first time you spoke, Vince Scofus, who is our office director at the Republican Party, he turned around and looked at me immediately, and he said, "You love that kid." I said, "Absolutely," but everything you said is exactly how I feel. But you said something that really struck me. Is you said, we don't need social justice warriors. We need good people. Can you tell us, and you know, I agree with you on that. Obviously, I'm quoting you, right?
Yeah.
I have seen even the social justice warriors, what I'm seeing in this movement, and it's the age old thing, right? It's pride. The very first sin continues to be what kills us the most. And I see people even trying to save America. There are those that their motive is not to save the country, it is to build their own thing. And they don't care what they cut off. They don't care if they're actually contributing. They just want to build their own thing. And at a time we need to be working together. That, you know, with the Freedom Brigades, I often say, you know, we partner with other organizations. I don't care who takes the credit. I don't care who we partner with. Let's put the structure together and let's work. Call it what you want. I don't care. We've got to save the country, and that matters. So we have to quit worrying about who gets credit for holding the hose if you're putting the fire out. And but you really expanded on that, and you brought your faith into it. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean when you say that?
Yeah, for sure. I originally said that so I took this position. I took my position at OSU like 2 weeks before classes started. My predecessor, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, I got an internship. I don't have time for this anymore. This is your problem." And so I took this position, and then I get a phone call from Dr. Aaron Means here at Payne County. He was the
Great man. He's running for office too, guys. Great
he
guy.
He is. And he was the county chairman at the time. And he said, "Hey, y'all are still coming to this meeting, right?" And I said, "Do what?" And he said, "Well, Connor and Lane were supposed to come and speak." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll come and speak with Connor." I had never met the guy, but I was like, "I'll come and speak with Connor." And, you know, in this position, or at least on the chapter level, a lot of what you see from people is, y'all need to get some people here to help us work this booth at this county fair. You need to get young people to our county meetings. You need to get young people to do this, do that. And which, I mean, that's completely reasonable in my opinion. But usually it's, what can y'all do for us? And instead at that meeting, they asked me, what can we do for y'all? And I really appreciated it. And it kind of caught me off guard. And I said that piece, I said, we don't need social justice warriors. We need good people. And I was speaking to primarily parents and grandparents in the room. And what I meant by that is, you can train somebody to be an advocate. You can train somebody to go knock doors. You can train somebody to engage in advocacy. You can teach people how to engage with legislators at the state capitol. But if they don't have that foundation, if they don't have a biblical foundation, and if they don't know why they are arguing for the points they are arguing for, then they're going to be swayed every which way. They're going to be swayed by people's checkbooks, by the wind. They're going to be swayed by their corrupted desires, right? By a fallen world. But if they have a foundation, if they've got a faith-based foundation for their political positions, then we can deal with the other stuff. We can deal with the fostering advocates, you know? So that's essentially what I meant by that.
So, and you had thrown in your faith into that as well, which we talk a lot about at the Freedom Brigades, because this is a spiritual war that we're in. And if we don't understand that, then we're not going to be as effective, because we have to be praying and we have to be letting God work through us, which really our faith as Christian teaches us that we're supposed to be a sacrifice, let our lives be a living sacrifice. And we're supposed to die to ourselves and let Christ live through us. And so if we're really living that way, then the ego gets put aside and we're able to do more and be more effective, and God can use us more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
It's
for sure. For sure. You've got to have that foundation. If you don't have that foundation, then you're just gonna be all over the place. You know, you aren't going to be able to make coherent arguments. You won't be able to make logical arguments. You know, you have to argue from some point, whether that's your faith or whether that's some, I don't know, a Bill Buckley book, you know, about conservatism. You have to have a foundation for it.
You know, I think that people say, I've heard a few make the argument that it doesn't have to be about faith, that you just have to be a good person. And I strongly disagree with that, because you have to have a basis for what makes you a good person. You have to have that foundational, these biblical principles, because God created us and this is the way he said we have to be in order to function and to be who we're supposed to be. If you don't have that structure, the definition of good can be moved. That line can continue to be moved with what society says, you know, and
and that's the difference between leftism. I don't use the same word liberal and left interchangeably. I think those are two different things, but that's the difference in leftism and conservatism. Leftism says that personal liberty, individual liberty, is the chief end of man. And conservatives, just by definition, do not agree with that. Conservatives believe that the chief end of man is to glorify God. And those are two very different things. My personal liberty, my personal choices, my personal freedoms aren't going to always line up with glorifying God, right? Glorifying God is obeying his commands. That's like you said, I am supposed to be a living sacrifice. I'm called to die to myself. So following God's commands aren't always going to be the thing that necessarily serves me as a person, as an individual, the most in that given moment.
That's right. That's right. So what do you see as the biggest difference? So, you know, before we came on the air, Andrea and I were talking about wanting to get this laptop extension that gives you 3 screens, because us older people have
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we figured out that we need more than one screen. And I, you know, I was taught to type on MS-DOS, right? 2 screens was completely out. He listened
I
to
had a typewriter. And it was really cool because it had the white whiteout option where I could actually erase. So I had like the cool new one because I could
the
erase.
new typewriter, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't think I'm younger than you. Andrew, you're younger than me. I must have had
Not
whatever.
by a lot.
But so I was taught MS-DOS on an actual computer, and that was in 6th grade, right?
And the discs were actually floppy. They were like this big.
Yeah, that's why there is floppy disks. Did you know
they actually were floppy?
The design of Save was actually a floppy disk. That's what they actually looked like. I say these things. Anyway, it makes me feel so very old, and I'm like really excited about the 3-screen thing. I think I'm getting this for Mother's Day to go with my laptop. Now I can't on my desk. I can't do it with just one anymore, and I can't. I mean, believe it or not, I remember when there wasn't even a flat screen, screen, much less 2. Right, yeah. 2 was out, unheard of. Like I remember AOL. The reason we all have our emails at charity.net Yahoo, because we were there when email was invented. Right, like this is right.
Man.
Oh,
yeah.
So you didn't have a Gmail whenever you were in high school?
Oh, that was way later.
There was no such
thing. Or like MySpace.
MySpace,
ICQ. Do you remember ICQ? That used to be like the first messaging app, ICQ.
Yeah, no, 97 was my graduating year. Okay, so we didn't have any of that stuff. Like there is no documentation on all the stuff we did, and
Thank
that's
God.
awesome, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was just a different world, right? So what do you see, Luke, is the biggest hindrance or help that from my generation, who right now is leading the cause, and we're trying to hand the baton to you guys? What do you see as what helps us, what hinders us, and what can we do to bring it together and work together more from your viewpoint?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying to bridge the gap right there, right? Yeah.
Well, see the words. There you go. Very good.
Yeah. There we go. No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, for starters, we said we need good people, so we need to raise good people, right? What I'm seeing right now is a lot of people on college campuses are kind of picking up on that, and they're saying, okay, this is my political position. I'm pro-life. Why am I pro-life, right? And so we're seeing a lot of people wanting to dig in and get into the nitty-gritty of these political issues. But in it, so far as taking over the movement, right? I think we see a lot of people partnering together. There's a guy here in Payne County who's been part of the pro-life movement for forever. And you're seeing him work together with Students for Life and Students for Abolition and stuff. And it's really neat to see that partnership. It's neat to see that partnership because what I'm trying to say is we need to recognize why we are fighting this fight. And I think if you will just say, okay, this is the end, we need to figure out the means to get to that end, then I think the other stuff will just fall in place, right? And so whenever we recognize that we are fighting for these issues, not for these people or against these people, right? Whenever we put feelings about individuals aside and we say, okay, we really need to get this thing across the finish line. We really need to defeat 836. We really need to defeat 832. I think that's whenever we are able to come together, is whenever we recognize the issues first.
So we focus on, so this is what we've been saying the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the luxury of deciding whether or not we like the people in the foxhole.
Yes,
we've got to focus on the enemy. And the issues have to be the issue. Otherwise, you guys, Islam is trying to take over, and that is a very scary thing. We'll be talking about that on Friday's show. We've got, they're trying to medically mutilate children, and they're already raping their minds, right? And totally stealing innocence and making them be confused about their own identities, and there are so many, putting pornographic books in schools where if you read it out loud in a school library, they kick you out, but it's available for the kids to read. This kind of insanity is happening. And the fact that we're quadruple taxed is not even our biggest problem right now. That's insane.
I think our generation though feels scared for these young guys, and they're like, we're worried. Yes. We're like, oh my gosh, they've lived through COVID. They're seeing the world completely differently. You and I came from the time before. I think of, but the kids that I know that are in Luke's age and younger, what they saw through COVID and what they've been seeing go on in the world, like us dinosaurs are sometimes like, oh, look at what they've been exposed to in these poor kids, but they actually just yearn for truth now in such a profound way. I'm really happy to see a younger generation, like in the college level and even younger, they're no nonsense. They're like, listen, we were lied to. They went through all the things at a younger age and they're like, no more BS. And they're getting involved in larger numbers, I think, because of that. They're like, listen, don't do that to me again. If the government, they're very aware that the government overreached during COVID. They're very aware that there's psyops, and they're very aware that when they're looking at Instagram and all these things, even though they're digesting it, I think they're more aware than even some of the older generation. I see older people on their phones just scrolling, doom scrolling all day long. I think the younger generation actually knows what doom scrolling is. They're processing the media and stuff with that purview of they're trying to psychologically manipulate me. They don't trust, and they yearn for the truth. And so if the truth aligns with good, like Luke's saying, then we can really save our country. I think if the young people say, I want truth, and that's God's truth, and I want to be part of the good change going on in our country, I think that's why they're more active, though. Like, I think there's more young people becoming active in the political space now than in our generation, just because of what they've lived through in recent years.
Yeah. Well, and you see waves of involvement too, right? I mean, my parents are millennials. The millennial generation, love them or hate them, they were more apathetic, right? They were more cynical. Like, we're at the end of history, right? We're past all those issues, and you kind of saw that, in the 90s, the parties were very, very similar. They're becoming less and less similar, but they kind of grew together and now they're growing apart. And so I think that that's part of it, is they saw their parents either weren't involved, or if they were involved, it was for specific issues, and then they got out, right? And so they'd be part of this one little movement on this one little issue, and then they got out. And so I think that they're just filling in that void that the millennials left, where they weren't involved, right? And I mean, to your point, the COVID thing, that happened my freshman year of high school, spring of my freshman year of high school, which was 6 years ago ish. Yeah. And so that came at a point, especially with my generation, where they were fixing to enter into the real world, right? They were right on the cusp of it. And then they just get shot down, right, during COVID. And they're just wondering, what in the world is this? And most of them probably had phones. They were probably following it. And to your point, they saw time and time again where the government either got it wrong or blatantly lied to them about that issue. And so they're angry. They're mad, right? They're angry. And even more so after Charlie Kirk's assassination, they're angry and they want answers. They want answers on the different things coming out of the federal government. Like, everybody's worried about UFOs now. I did not see that coming. I would have lost money on that bet. But everybody's wanting these answers to these issues that have been a problem for so long, right?
Yeah, I think the hyper sense of discernment that everyone has, but I think younger people especially, because of what they lived through, is a good thing. Sometimes we worry about it being negative, and we worry about the psychological effects of everything that we've lived through, because it's caused a lot of paranoia. People are worried about geoengineering and all the poisoning in our bodies, but the fact that we're paying attention, I think, is such a good thing. And when young people watch something on TV, not even TV, but they watch something, they watch the government trying to put out some sort of official announcement on something, or they're watching any large podcast try to announce officially on something, they'll sit back and go, they have that skepticism where they're like, I'm not sure, I'm going to dig deeper. Yeah. And that is a good thing, because at the core of that, they're seeking the truth. And that will always be a righteous effort to righting the wrongs in our society, is seeking the truth.
Well, I find it interesting because your generation, Luke, wasn't taught the patriotism with the Common Core on the level that my generation, I'm Generation X, right? My generation was taught patriotism, but yet you guys are still like, what level of that was taught in your experience? Did you go to public schools?
Yes. Yeah. So I went to a public school in a small town, a rural area. My dad was on the school board. Some of my teachers went to church with me, so it was a very small town. And I mean, I was taught that at least I think I was taught patriotism. We did both the pledges. We had a moment of silence all the way through school. We did the state pledge charity. Not a lot of schools do the state pledge. We did the state pledge. Yeah. And, we learned the national anthem. We learned the state song. And so I I believe that I had a blessing of having good government and civics and history teachers. I knew why America was founded. I knew the founding principles of the nation. I mean, we didn't get as explicitly religious as you would have in generations prior, but I feel that I was taught a good base to build on whenever I approach political issues. But I don't think that is the case for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people, here's an example. So I graduated in a class of 21 people, right? That's a small class, especially for Nenocott. My sister just graduated and she had like 34 or something. So we were a particularly small class. But everybody told me before I got to Oklahoma State, you don't need to go to that big school. You know, it's going to be a culture shock. You know, you aren't going to acclimate well. You know, your grades are going to fail. You need to go to JUCO and then go to OSU. You need to go to small school and then OSU. And I call bull on that because I have these ways of filtering out the people at OSU, right? So I'm in College Republicans. I'm in Collegiate Farm Bureau. I'm in different organizations. I'm in the BCM. You've got different student ministries here. So you can find your people fairly stinking easily. And a lot of the people that I'm friends with were homeschooled. That I would say the vast majority of the people that I'm friends with were homeschooled because we've got the same common values. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not friends with people that went to public school like me. I'm friends with several public school people. That doesn't mean I'm not friends with people who have different political beliefs than me. I mean, you kind of have to in college, but it's very interesting the way that people migrate together after graduation, because I'm in more of a homeschool friend group now. And so it's very interesting to me. So that leads me to believe a lot of people didn't have the same experience that I did at public school.
Yeah. And it's also different. I'm thinking about when I was in college, and I mean, to connect with people was much different now. I mean, you guys can have your online groups and connect in a way. We were like putting up posters, you know, meet in the quad at 4. It's like we didn't have so much, you know, social media interaction back then.
So that's what all those bulletin boards are for?
Yeah, that's why you have those tacks out there. And you used to have to read them to find out what was going on in school every day.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, I mean, you get the people that you get because of the foundation that they were given whenever they were children, right? Yeah. I mean, rarely do people change, if ever.
But I love what you're saying about cultivating your tribe and having that support. And, you know, and also we know in the political space, like we were kind of talking about that before we went on, you know, some people will, you know, give me such a hard time when I'm seen, you know, in a photo with someone who's on the other side. Oh, that guy's liberal and he voted Democrat and he, you know, he's not pro-life, because I'm a very big pro-life voice in my state. So like, I can't even believe you'd be in the same room with them. And I always say, how did Jesus walk this earth? Exactly. How did he ministry? You know, how did he evangelize? It's like, if we can't see our brothers and sisters as our brothers and sisters, and actually, I like to communicate. I like to, I mean, to some degree, debate. But I love that young people are overall a little bit better at that. And so that's also, I love watching young people interact with people who might not have been raised the same way and might not see the things the same way, because you might cultivate them into understanding your point of view, but they'll never get there if you don't start that conversation and try to reach the other side.
Well, and to that point, we were talking about this in one of my Bible studies this past week. Jesus sat with the Samaritan woman, and we talk about the Samaritan woman, but do we dig into what a Samaritan was in that day? I mean, the Samaritans were an offshoot of one of the tribes of Israel, and they intermarried with the Assyrians, and the Jewish leaders had to say, okay, y'all are just not one of us anymore. And so they go and they worship on the mountain. And even as Jesus is talking with this woman, he is making the point. He is loving her. He is talking to her. He's engaging with her. You know, he didn't have to talk to her. You know, she went in the hottest part of the day because she had shame about her personal circumstances at that point in time. But Jesus loved on her, and he loved on her whilst also saying, I know the God I worship, or we know the God we worship as Jews. We know the God that we give our sacrifices to. And he makes the point, you are worshiping an unknown God. He lovingly tells her that she is not worshiping the same God that he is. whilst engaging with her, whilst being polite, and she walks away from that. She runs away from that conversation and tells everybody, hey, you need to come see this Jesus guy. I think he's the Messiah. Y'all come see for yourselves. And to that point, so the day Charlie Kirk got shot, like 20 minutes after shots were fired, I get a phone call from a number I don't know. And I let go of voicemail, and it says, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm the chairwoman of the College Democrats at Oklahoma State University. I really want the chance to talk with you about how our organizations could partner together. And so I said, okay, everything's still happening. We don't know whether he's dead or alive yet. And I just call her back and I say, hey, what do you want to talk about? And she says, I really want to put out a statement with our two organizations together at OSU condemning political violence. Very, very baseline statement. Very, it was, I don't want to say clinical, but we didn't talk about anything political in that statement. It was just, we're condemning political violence. It's like 3 paragraphs. And so I say, sure, yeah, we can write it. So we got to writing it on Google Docs. And then the news comes out that he died, that he was no longer alive. And so we have to edit that statement, but we get it sent out the same day. I got so much flack for that one statement. It completely caught me off guard. And it wasn't even from people on the other side. That Charlie Kirk wasn't their guy. So they were completely fine with it, and they actually appreciated it. I got several emails from professors here that I know don't have the same political views as me, who emailed me and said, thank you so much for that statement. We really appreciate that y'all two came together. But it was people on our side, on my side, people that were my members here at the chapter at OSU that were mad about that. And we aren't going to get anywhere if we aren't allowing for some sort of collaboration, somewhere where we can say, hey, we both agree on these few issues right here. Like we agree on human dignity. We agree on that political violence is wrong, right? So.
Well, and you talked about the apathy and the millennials, and when the two parties kind of seemed closer and now they're farther apart. I do get scared. And speaking of Charlie Kirk and political violence, and honestly, Charity and I have had tons of threats. I get tons of threats. I work on cases where, you've got whistleblowers who are disappearing. I mean, it's like, and my name's been, I'm to the point where, again, like Charity and I God's got my back. Like, I'm going to walk in confidence in this fight. But it is scary because of the extremities of the two parties warring sometimes, where I don't like on our side, again, when I always say, would Jesus walk the earth that way? When they say they're too far gone. I hate on our side when they go, they're too far gone. They're evil. They're monsters. If they don't believe in this and this and this, then they're too far gone. There's no such thing as too far gone. I mean, if we want to save our country, I mean, when you go back to the Constitution, our founding fathers deliberately say the freedom of religion is at the base of all of it, the freedom of religion. So you do not have to have my same faith in Christ, but you have to live by the laws of the land, and our land was built on Christian moral values. That's just it. There would be no courts, there'd be no laws, there'd be no right or wrong. There is right or wrong, and our Bible has taught us that. And yes, our country was built on that. So like when we talk about the Sharia law, it goes against the Constitution. So it is null and void in my opinion. It can't be, it won't be, it shouldn't be. Like there's no Sharia law here. We go by the Constitution, which again, if you have a different religion, it's fine. If you live a different life, it's fine, but you have to live by the laws of the land. You can be my neighbor. You can see things differently. You just have to be a lawful citizen of the United States. And there are laws. And so I kind of get upset with that. And I think that that's where you see so much violence brewing. It's like, you don't have to love that person. You don't have to have them over for dinner. But if they're living a lawful life. It might help if you do, though. It could help if you do, yeah. And again, I think in the political space, for young people like you who are, potentially going to stay in the political space for a long time and you care about it, it's extremely important, I think, to do your best to like join hands, like you're saying. Like, we have a platform. The Republicans have a platform. The Democrats have a platform. We stick to that. But we have to be able to communicate. Like, you can't just say, oh, they're a Democrat, so I don't like them. That's not how we're going to save our country.
Well, I think it's beautiful that the Democrat Party at OSU wanted to say we condemn political violence from groups. When you have groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter that people try to say are the leftists out there, that they are the Democrat Party, to hear the Democrat Party say, no, we don't condone behavior like that. That's a beautiful thing, because then we realize as Americans, guys, we are all against that crap.
Yeah.
As Americans, none of us want that, right? And so it's a beautiful thing.
After that, I think it was the next day that Connor, my predecessor on the state level position, he and the statewide college Democrats had gotten together and put out a similar statement. And so I really appreciated that. I was like, okay, they saw our statement. They were like, okay, I need to put myself in check, and we need to do something together as well. And I really appreciated that.
And I think
Connor's
especially
great job.
Yeah.
I think especially for young people in politics, it's frustrating because this is something that Tucker Carlson says a lot. And I think of it all the time because I'm the most impatient person on the planet. But Tucker says democracy is slow, right? We have the two-party system in place for a lot of different reasons in our country. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Even those libertarians who want to see it change, sorry, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think we need to restore the Republican Party and bring it back to what it's supposed to be and actually have a platform, and we'll save our country. But democracy runs slow. And I think that's hard for young people. But when you don't see justice and you don't see the government doing what you were hoping they would do, people get frustrated, and then they go to the streets with certain protests and things like that. And I'm not against any protesting, because that's your First Amendment right. Go protest, get loud, but don't ever do it violently, ever. Like that's the thing. And I love, like you said, Charity, like there's Democrats out there that would be like, no, there's no way in heck we're associated with this Antifa BS. There's no way in heck we're associated with, and that's the thing. They should actually do more of that. I think that's great that they did that there with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Luke, thank you for coming on today. This has been great. Yeah. You give me so much encouragement. Yes. I got to be there. They held their convention at the state party office. And so I walked in as soon as they were done, because you guys were done by like 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, less than an hour. Yeah.
But so I got to be there the day he was elected chair, and then they had a beautiful gala that night. And that was, you guys did a great job. I got to go and be a part of that. And I'm really excited about the direction. I'm excited that we're seeing more people get involved, and that they're not just, your statement about we need good people, not just social justice warriors. I think we need to be talking more about that. Yeah. We need to be checking ourselves, checking our own integrity, which is checking the motives, and paying attention. What are the motives of the people talking to you?
And less ego. And that's another hard thing with young people is they're all influencers. And just like the constant putting of your selfies on, I mean, that's a psychological issue that we have right now, but less ego. When I walk onto any project, the first thing and Charity, you can attest to this, the first thing out of my mouth is I have no toes to step on. I have no feelings anymore because I'm too old and too war torn. You can't hurt my feelings. And I'm only here. This is a political thing. And I've run campaigns. I've been on campaigns. I always say the seats might change. Your title might change. People who are really obsessed with title always bug me. So I'm like, listen, next week we might have to bring in another guy to fill that position, and you'll have a new title. It's not about us as individuals and our egos. It's about us winning the war together, right?
That's exactly right. Right.
All of us, it's not just young people. Human beings are susceptible to pride. And I think that you keep yourself in check as Christians by that daily time in the Word and in prayer. And I know I say that a lot. That's how I start every day, which you guys know the story when I was healed of cancer. I've told it a few times. But I promised the Lord, I don't know why you chose to heal me, but I will start every day in the Word and with prayer. And I have. That was 2009, and never have I. And that time helps keep me grounded, helps me checking my motives. And without that, I think human beings are susceptible to pride. And so none of us are above it. We just have to be purposeful in not going there, because this is about something so much bigger than any of us. And remembering that is key. I do want to talk about the Make Wellness.
Oh, yes.
This is a phenomenal thing. Do you know what the peptides? Do they teach you about peptides in pre-law?
I think I learned about it in high school chemistry, but that's been a
High
little
school
while.
chemistry, yes. So these are peptides. Us older people need it a little bit more than the younger people. This is one of those things where I'm like, man, I feel like I'm 25, and then we won't look at pictures when I was 25 and compare, because then there's a big difference. But and then I'm like, yeah, no, I can't keep up with myself trying to do that kind of. You're on the wrong one. You
Oh.
Tom's
Oh.
link. Let me share my screen.
Okay,
Actually,
I'll fix
hold
that.
on, I gotta pull it up first. That's hilarious. Well, we love Tom, and Tom's a good friend of the Freedom Brigades, and he puts our stuff out. But okay, so
Okay, let
do
me
you
get
see
your
the
share
Freedom
screen, and then
Brigades?
I'll fix my screen.
You're good. Do you see it?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if you go to Freedom Brigades, and then we're gonna go. I'm gonna make this bigger. If you go to shop right here at the top, you can get $10 off the peptides. Now, I've got issues with my thyroid. I don't have a thyroid anymore, and several different fun things that I got with as I'm older, and I no longer have the metabolism I did. Did you know, Andrea? I used to eat ice cream at like midnight. I just did whatever I wanted. I never even thought about it. I was skinny as a rail, and then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, I'm old now. That's not how it works anymore. The peptides help with that. The peptides help with my focus. They help with my sleep. They help with the energy. And so you've been on them longer than I have, but you can get $10 off. This is completely natural. I will never do those shots that
Yeah.
they're doing where everybody's getting skinny. Guys, I don't think that's
Yeah,
with right.
these are not synthetic injectables. These are bioactive precision. So it's just naturally derived ingredients all scientifically put together to create, basically, because peptides are a natural, protein synthesis in our body. So what they've done, and these guys have been studying it for like over a decade, from what I've heard from these doctors. Like, so the reason why Make Wellness does so well is it's definitely science backed. People will say that peptides don't get past the digestion. They've worked on that. Obviously it works. You can see the testimonials all over the place about these peptides, but I think they're amazing, especially not just older people. I am a gym geek, and I'm always trying to maintain my muscle. I'm trying to gain muscle all the time. And a lot of big gym meathead guys that I work out with that love this stuff take it, the fit, because it helps with your muscle synthesis and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
it's great stuff. I'm loving. We're doing the whole perimenopause crap.
yeah,
And so that gives you like the stupid brain. Like my brain will all of a sudden be, let's just take a word she's been using for 47 years. How about spoon? We'll take spoon today. And so I'll be like, that thing that you use to eat, that like, and I can't think of it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I take these, I take Focus in the afternoon, and that helps.
Do you like the Focus? Yeah, do you like the Focus and the Energized? And yeah, I love it too.
Yes, I do. I love the Focus. I love the Focus the most because I hate having
that sluggish brain.
Walk away. You wouldn't believe how rude I have been at different times. My poor husband, everybody pray for him. But there was a time in my life that if I'm talking to you and you said and one too many times, I would say, tell me when you figured out what you're going to say. I've got something else to do. And I would walk away. I've done that. I've hung up on my husband when I was dating him because he'd be going, and he couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, it was so mean, right? But now that's me. That's I'm reaping what I sowed, and now that's me going. I can't think of the word, and the Focus helps me with that. So I'm really grateful for that. But peptides, guys, I won't do the GLP stuff. I'm not sure.
That's not what this is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all completely natural, and so go check it out. You get $10 off.
And you help the brigades. Yeah.
Help the brigades. But more than that, everything we sell is, I keep telling you, quit buying from the box stores. They're poisoning you, right? Even like deodorant poisons you, right? Like it's got metals in it, and like everything, you've got to go with all natural products. You need to be buying your meat from somewhere besides the grocery store, please. I hope that you are buying your meat from somewhere else that is not contaminated. We need to be purposeful with where we're spending our money. The big box stores are not your friend. And so, go check out what we've got at Freedom Brigades. Those are some of the ones that I've checked out that I know are healthy options and to keep us healthy and out of the pharmakeia system, because we need to do that too. So you can take that off. Guys, that's what I have this week. You can take back your community by joining the Freedom Brigades. This is it's a system where you just it's not 10 minutes, it's 4 hours of an entire month. You can take back your community. You take back your community, and then they take back their community. We've got a network where you all talk together, and then you're collaborating, you're sharing information. We've got backup. If there's something comes up in your community and you don't know how to handle it, we've got some big names that we can call and say, hey, we don't know what to do. What do you suggest? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to save the Republic by saving our communities, and that's up to you. You have a part to play. Go to freedombrigades.com, sign up. Thank you, Luke, for being with us. And
Thank you.
We'll see you on Friday.
All right. God bless. Bye.